there is another dimension, beyond that which is knowledge of man. It is a dimension as vast as space, and as limitless as infinity. It is a blackness between the sun and the moon, between science and superstition, and it lies between all of man's fears and the summit of his ability. This is the space of imagination. It is an area which we call the Sci-fi Zone. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sci-fi Zone. And tonight we're going to check out the indie, underground, haunted house / science fiction, thrill-eyed, possibly, movie called The Return from 2020. Directed by B.J. Verot. So this film really is a blend. You have the classic haunted house story mixed with the boy coming home from college, and you slice in a little bit of science fiction, and you end up with this thing, The Return.
Beer me, Beth. What? Beer me.
After the death of his father, a brilliant college student returns to his family home, where he learns that the horrors from his childhood aren't as dead as he thought. So I thought it would be fun if we start with the pluses for a change, because I feel like I'm getting too negative on this show and I gotta bring up the bar a little bit, okay? The cast in this film was decent. The acting was okay. I wasn't like too critical of the acting. There were times when I felt some deliveries were poor, but I honestly feel like, as we'll get on later, a lot of that was roughed up to the writing and not really the fault of the actors. The cinematography was pretty good too. It was fine actually, and at times it was pretty effectively used in this. And I think that was a really big plus to the production, was the cinematography was good. The special effects are also really great in this. Mainly, I'm talking about the computer-generated graphics. They were pretty legit and pretty effective. Yeah, I was surprised with that. That was a plus. So, where did the movie go wrong? Well, it's where a lot of movies go wrong. It comes down to the writing and the script and the pacing and the rhythm. And honestly, a bunch of other things. And the ability of not being able to build tension. That's a big one, yeah. Let's start with the first big one, the script. We have this story about a child haunted by his past who returns home from college with his girlfriend and his ex-girlfriend. I mean, you know this is not going to pan out well. Big red flag, right? Big red flag. This guy is trying to play all the bases. The fact that he did not tell his current girlfriend, Beth, that his friend Jordan is his ex and he used to date her. Whoa. This guy is a piece of shit. It doesn't help either later on in the movie when he ends up slut-shaming Jordan in the middle of a scene.
Some people just aren't dating material, you know?
Oh, and you are.
I think so. I've had my share of relationships, sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between dating someone, though, and swiping right on every dude in the state.
And again, coming back to the writing, like, you want your main character to somewhat be likable. It's not necessarily critical for, like, certain types of film, but most of the time, you want your main character to be likable. This guy's not likable when he's doing shit like this. And again, comes down to the writing. Like, I have to want to care about this guy, but if he's doing stuff like this, how can I really like justify any of that? You have to spend time writing. It can take years to write a script. It can take years to build story and characters. It's not something you do half-assed, okay? And when I watch movies like this, I think when the writing's bad, it's like one or two things. It's one, they rushed it, where they didn't spend enough time on the script, or two, they're just not very smart, and they don't really know how to tell stories well, and they have to go back and educate themselves more, you know? Like, I don't even know how else to say this, other than put the time in and do your due diligence on your homework. Like, there's no excuse for the story to be bad and the script to be bad. Like, those are things you can help change. Maybe that involves bringing on another person to help write your script. Maybe that involves having others' eyes on it, being able to take criticism when necessary. It's so important to your story. So you have this creature ghost thing. I mean, that's what we're going to call it for the time being. It's introduced in this story. It looks awesome, like it looks cool. Sometimes it's like this black, misty, ghost kind of fog that like shows up. And other times it's like this bloodied, skinned, alive human being, which looks really awesome and is very effective looking. But the biggest problem with all this is there's no tension being built in this movie. Early on, I will admit, it looked like there was an attempt to build tension in certain scenes. But as the movie progresses, they just like completely drop it. And there's literally scenes where he turns a corner and the ghost is there, or they're in that hallway and the ghost is just standing there looking at him, and it's stupid. Since there's no tension, it becomes off cheesy. And not being able to build tension effectively kills your movie, and it does for this movie. There is like no tension in this. It's awful. It's awful. Look, at the end of the day, building tension is really hard, and it's not something you can just pick up and do on your first try. When you show up to set and you're going to be shooting this thing, you can't just wing it. You have to have all this built out critically and methodically and thought through. Like, the pacing and rhythm is so important to tension and what you show on the screen. Combined with music, sound effects, it all helps build, and without tension, your movie falls flat, which is the case for this movie. Now, there is an interesting plot development with the story. I did find some things interesting, like the mother character who's the scientist who's working on this formula for time travel. Very interesting stuff, and the fact that he is her son and also very smart and brilliant in this way makes sense as like a connection. I thought that was cool and interesting. The actual time travel device that they built wasn't very cool looking. It seemed very low budgety. But doesn't really lead anywhere too interesting, because the whole time this ghost is constantly just fucking showing up out of the blue with no tension at all. And it's just like, it kills it. Like, look, they literally have these scenes where his dad was walking around the house with a laptop before he died recording the ghost. Like, and they show it all and they freeze frame it on the laptop. It's just so cheesy. Like, you don't have to always show everything all the time. Sometimes it's better just to be left up to the imagination. Like, again, writing issues. Like, so the last act of this movie turns into kind of science fiction thrill ride where he puts together this time travel device and turns it into a laser gun and starts zapping around the house. And I guess the idea is this thing zaps the ghost and sends him back through time with it. But again, it's kind of unclear. I just don't understand why. And I was so just angry at the movie at this point, I just didn't give a fuck, frankly. Like, I just didn't give a fuck at all. It's a bit of a mess at this point. And I said to myself, like, why the fuck not, right? Honestly, I think I'm just gonna stop here. I'm really angry talking about this movie now, and I'm very frustrated with it because it had potential. I think that's why I'm really angry at it. Like, it had potential. It could have been a great movie. And I'm just angry and mad, and I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Like, don't watch this movie. I would not recommend this movie to view by yourself. I just know it's a drag. The pacing and rhythm that is non-existent, and the non-existent building of tension just kills it, and I just can't recommend it. Watch it as a group, maybe. I mean, yeah, you probably find some things to laugh at, or you'll probably just get tired like I did and fall asleep during it. Like, I stopped this movie, I kid you not, I stopped this movie about 5 times when I was watching it because I was having that much trouble just getting through the thing. I was really hoping for a good haunted house science fiction movie. I was pumped when I read that. I was like, damn, what a combination, right? Science fiction, haunted house. So disappointed. Yeah. Don't watch it.